All right. Okay. So we're still doing some short lessons on living from our goal versus thinking of our goal. And what we're going to just cover right now is identification. Identification. So in psychocybernetics, he was a plastic surgeon who wrote that book. He was saying that we are limited, in what we can accomplish and stuff by our self-image. If we change our self-image, then that, can grow our personalities, how we think about ourselves. We kind of change how we see ourselves. That changes a lot. Our capacity to accomplish stuff is limited by the self-image that we limit ourselves by. So if we raise our self-image into a person that's able to take on more, then challenges that used to be like a level 5 will become like a level 2, right? So we want to change what we identify with. So let's say we identify as this person here, and maybe they're a consumer of material, and they buy books and they buy audios and they buy, they're a consumer. This is a consumer. And then let's say they want to see themselves as a producer. They want to see themselves as the person that writes the books, the person that makes the audios, the person that teaches, per se, right? So this is a producer or a teacher or whatever. This one spends money to get products. This one gets money to sell products. They both, they have, all you have to do is basically change your identity, and it changes a lot as far as your place in the world and what comes towards you or what goes away from you. So in order to change the identification, your identification of who you identify with, it's, I want you to think of yourself as a spiritual being having a human experience, and this role that we take on, this ego, this personality, all that is something that we could just drop. However we currently see ourselves, let's say, I'm an incompetent person. Well, what would it be like if I was a competent person? How would I think? How would I act? How would I stand? Right? And to imagine that you could be somebody else by just dropping the act of whatever you were doing before and just step into a new personality, new way of being, and just step into that, like much into that role. Much the same as an actor just drops the role and just takes on another role, puts on another costume, and starts to act from that place. Now that is like vitally different than, if an actor is acting like a certain character in a play. Maybe they're maybe they're the poor person, and then from the poor person they forget that they're acting and they really believe that they're the poor person, and then as the poor person's mentality and believing that that's who they are, they're trying to act as a king from that poor person role, believing that they're that role. It'd be much harder to act like you're a king if you really believe that you're not a king, if you really believe that you're poor. But if you really believed, if you knew that you weren't really the poor person that you're acting, if that's not you, it's just a role that you're playing, you can just drop that role, take off the costume, and then be the king, like legit, for real, step into that 100%. And that's how you embody like a different, personality or identification. So we want to see ourselves as we want to be in the future. Let's say we accomplish all our goals and we become a new person. We want to imagine what that would be like. And then instead of trying to, become that from, from this place here, while retaining this identification of who we currently believe we are, we want to just drop this idea and just imagine what it would be like to be this person, and then just step into that, without being limited by the current self-image that you have. So that's what we're talking about for just identification, right? And so with the Superman analogy, I mean, Superman was always pretending to be Clark, Clark Kent, and that was his what he was acting as if he's not Superman, right? And so Clark Kent could never act his way to becoming Superman. He could, personal development would take him forever to become like Superman. Clark Kent could never become Superman, but Clark Kent could just drop the act and just be Superman because that's who he really is. So that's the switch, how fast you can change everything by just, realization. Realize who you are and drop the act and take on a different role here on Earth, because for spiritual beings having a human experience, then we're really kind of like all actors and taking on a role that we might have got just comfortable in or took on for a while, but we can just drop it and re-identify ourselves with something else that will totally change everything. So identification will help us in this series here, living from versus thinking of. This one here, if you keep this role, you're thinking of who you want to be. If you just drop the act and be that person, re-identify yourself, then you can just think from that person in the future. And next, we're going to talk about time.